Sorry.
We got a lot to say.
All right, here we go. All right. Sorry. I don't know why I did that. Okay, let's try this again. Welcome back, marketing nerds of the world. It's time for another episode of HAMYAW, and today we want to talk about two things that get recommended to everybody when they ask the question, how am I supposed to scale my service-based business? That's right, folks. You asked for it, so we are bringing you an episode not only on digital courses, but also scaling and the agency model, subcontractors, all those things people recommend when you have too much on your plate, when you're doing too much, when you're finding ways to make more money while doing a little less. There's a little bit wrong with a lot of the advice going on around both of these topics, so we're going to get into that today. But before we do, Margot, how do you feel about courses and agency models?
Right, it's just so easy. Take everything you know, package it into a course. All you need is a Teachable account and a few good ideas.
Bing! Join my Skillshare
And then
course.
The money just comes in. All you have to do is tell people about it and cut sugar. I mean, really, guys, really. Listen, we had a whole messaging episode with Shanae where you do have to meet people where they are. So I understand that the dream is, passive income and having to work a little less hard where things start, steady stream of leads, clients' money while you sleep, like all of that. But then get a job. Entrepreneurship is not for the meek, and you get that 10, 15, 20 years in, if that. I don't know how many seasoned entrepreneurs a lot of the advice givers have actually talked to, or certainly not their audiences, but I do make a habit of surrounding myself with people who are way more successful than me, and not one of them is like, it's shitting unicorns. It's a great day. It's like more money, more problems. You know the saying?
That's my next course title, Shitting Unicorns. I think that what a lot of people miss out on in the course conversation is the reality of it. And I think as somebody who's gone through this myself, and Margot, I know you have as well, because I followed that advice for a long time, because the trajectory, the ladder is, start your business, get enough clients that you have a wait list and can pick and choose, charge high ticket, and then create a course or hire subcontractors, because that's the way to grow. And right now, some people are actually finding that neither option kind of works for them. So they're trying to figure out something in between, which is an adventure I certainly relate to. But I know in my case, when I was climbing the ladder, I thought I needed the course, and I created the workshops, which we did a whole other episode on called Kill Your Darlings. Why? Because I retired it 18 months later. It was a behemoth that took me 3 years to build, and I just didn't enjoy it at all. It could have made me money. I still have people asking for it to this day, which is, an honor, but I don't really have any interest in having it see the light of day again outside of
Can we talk about transferable skills though? Because this is also what bothers me, is that okay, let's start with the transition from freelancer to entrepreneur. They're different skills. There's nothing wrong with being a freelancer for the rest of your life. You can make fantastic money taking on projects. If you want to build a company that's bigger, where you employ other people, where you're building a bigger audience, where whatever your revenue is higher, there are different ways to do that, but you're going to deploy different skills. And so there's the freelancer model, then that kind of graduates naturally to the agency model. So you go from executing to be in a sales role, primarily sales and growth role. Then if you switch that to courses, then you're teaching. That's a different skill. So each of those are completely different skills, first of all. I think when we're talking about a lot of people who are building personality-driven platforms, which is a lot of our audience, you are thinking about yourself and what you bring to the table, and it's not always the same thing. So I think about this a lot with doctors, because I know that they complain. Doctors go in, they want to work with patients, but if you want to go up higher, you become admin, you become managerial. That is not the same skill. People who are good at fixing bones are not good at managing employees and team morale. Those are not the same. They're not transferable. Let's just start with the reality of this advice is not even considering the human being on the other side. Maybe you shouldn't build courses. Maybe that's a bad idea for you. Maybe you have a personality that is built for radio. You know what I mean?
Maybe you have a terrible personality. That's important to reckon with before you start a course.
All right, I used the wrong words, but you know what I mean? I think there's a couple things missing from here. So one, there's your natural skill base and how you want to expand and the ways in which you will do that. For example, I fell into courses because I hated executing and I wasn't as good at it. There were so many people that were better at me. I was really good at explaining stuff. So like, it became clear that I needed to spend more time in the teaching, educating, coaching part of the business. Yeah. That was better for me. Sales was better for me. It was a natural evolution, but it doesn't have to be a mandate. And I think that's what's so frustrating about this advice is they talk about it like it's Bible. There is no alternative. This is the one true path. It is the way.
Yeah. And I think they also don't talk about what a tremendous amount of work it is. And I think that's the reality too that a lot of people don't really realize. So I was talking about the behemoth of a course I make. It took me 3 years, but it's a fire hose. And that's the other thing. I value the experience of creating a giant course because it taught me so much. I learned so much through that process of talking to audiences about what they wanted, building it, sending it to production, spending $10,000 launching this shit. It was just an end-to-end incredible learning experience for me. But at the end of the day, it was embarrassing and somewhat difficult to turn around and being like, this is not it. So I don't regret it for that reason because it was an important journey. But what frustrates me about the you should build a virtual course conversation is that they're easy to develop, to build, and to sell. Because I think a lot of people are like passive income, run ads to it, make money while you sleep. And there's a lot more to it than that. It takes a while to get an evergreen funnel running properly. It's never going to be wholly hands-off maintenance, frankly. And I think there's a lot people need to know about how human beings receive and retain information. I do this with my students all the time. When they're creating courses, it's like, how much value can we shove under this mattress? You know what I mean? Like, how can we surprise people and delight them by giving them a waterfall of information?
And I think only watch the first 4
episodes. And they only watch the first episode and they never finish it. And people are like, 3% of people don't finish courses. It must be because all courses are bad. And it's like, yeah, but also because freelancers historically aren't educators. Like, we have a lot to learn about how people learn and receive our information in particular. For me, it resulted in a huge stripping down of everything I created after that, which again is very important, but we can't be looking to courses as kind of this panacea and a solution. What it often does is create new problems. And the key is if you like those problems more, go hang out over there, but you might not.
What flavor of shit sandwich do you prefer? I stole that from Liz Gilbert. I just think it's so perfect. It's so perfect. But you bring up also a point that I think no one talks about this enough, but it's demand. Do you have demand? Are people asking you for these things? Like, we keep building stuff because we think it's the next evolution of our business, but has anyone asked for them? Like, is your audience dying for courses? Are they looking for education? Because I know one of the things I ran into why I shifted away from marketing is that people who pay for marketing, my clients, were business owners. But the people who read about marketing are marketers. Clients don't want to read about marketing. They don't give a shit. They want to know that you can solve their problem and they want to give you money to do it. So that's in the executing world. And so there was this disconnect. I had no demand. People were like, oh, you got to do a course on marketing, got to do a course on marketing. And I was like, for who? My client doesn't want to learn marketing. They had zero interest in learning marketing. They wanted to pay me to do it for them. So I think we have to be really, really, really clear on who's giving us money and what they need and how to serve them.
This is also what's interesting because, again, I work with my clients on this a lot, is that a lot of us are actually serving two markets if we want to teach and if we want to serve. Okay. You know, it's the high ticket clients who are going to pay us all the monies to have it done for you, and the people who are like, I want to know how you do things. And there's almost no overlap. Yeah. You know, I think that we talk about courses as a downsell, and a big part of it is like, okay, it's a downsell if they're really not ready and they need to learn, but if they're at a level of success where they're very busy, they're not going to want to take a course. They just want someone to solve the problem. But a lot of people are afraid of that, and I don't necessarily think you have to be. I think there's a version of business that I know I kind of play in a little bit where, you know, the people on your list are people who want to learn from you. They're coaching clients. They are future mentees, all that great stuff, and just people who want to hang out with you and read what you're working on. But then clients, they're not on your email list. They're talking to each other. You know, you're meeting them in workshops. You are meeting them at events. You're meeting them elsewhere. basically. And it's important to do that traditional, I mean, I meet clients on social media as well, let's be honest. But I think that what people are missing when it's like, just create a course, is that that's an entirely different beast, because you have to make sure you have an audience for it. You have to make sure you have that interest. You have to make sure you have the ability to produce and continue to market it and continue to send people to it and sell it to people, even when you're too tired to want to do it anymore, even when you're sick of it.
Facebook ads. It's so cheap. The cheapest time in history. You're getting a discount if you buy Facebook ads right now.
I'm actually, unironically, I'm talking to a Facebook ads person today, but I'm going to tell you why. I have not paid for Facebook advertising. I mean, I've done like boosted posts, but like in the history of my business pretty much. And the reason why I'm doing it now is because I have the plane.
Yes.
Like I have the offer stacked. Yes. I know where everything lives and how it feeds into everything else. So now I'm like, all right, how do we put a jet engine, you know, in the plane?
Yes, so, sequencing matters, y'all. Okay, so what I said was a little flippant because I actually love ads. Y'all know that. I love ads, but I do think that people jump to think of them as a panacea for top of the funnel leads without considering, number one, the offer. Yep. If someone's meeting you for the first time and you're like, here's a $5,000 project. Yep. Like, nope. And second of all, they're much more long-term play, right? Like you need exposure, you need familiarity. You're not necessarily going to drive buyers. You're going to drive email list subscribers, for example, or viewers, or it's audience building a lot of the time. It's awareness building. But then there's also, you need the foundation built and you need to know what you don't know. Yeah. So like, copywriting, design stuff, and also the specifics of the platform. Because like Facebook has a formatting issue where like you basically need several headlines, where it's not just headline copy, depending on how you do the ad. So like it's complicated, and then segmentation can get real complicated. It's supposed to be the panacea, and it is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, it's fantastic. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it takes time. You need what? 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes up to 3 months to know what the control is.
You need the patience and availability. That's the thing too. You know, it's a whole other arm of the business. You know, if you're going to build another room in your house, you're not like, I need more space, so I'll just add an extra room.
Exactly. My shorthand is always, you've got to know what your customer lifetime value is first. Yeah. Because that way you know if you're paying too much for acquisition. If you don't know those numbers, you have no idea if you're getting a good deal or not. And you have to have been in business long enough to know.
Yeah, and be able to look for that. So let's talk about who should create a course and who should, real quick, gut check. Who should be creating a course? Okay. I don't know why I did that, but
I like it.
Where we're at now.
I'll go with you. I already brought up demand. I think if you have an audience that is asking to learn and is hungry for learning about this particular topic, I do think enjoyment matters, but like skill. So if you have the natural skill of speaking, explaining, teaching, like a little bit of that, but you can learn that. Like you can get better at that. I would say the biggest thing though, people really stress about expertise. So I want to talk about what it means to be an expert or not. Because I think we have people who have imposter syndrome, and then on the other end of the spectrum are people who are like, I did it once. Yeah. Therefore, let me tell you.
I did it once for myself. Therefore.
To which I say, go fuck yourself.
Tell them.
Okay, so here's the myth of expertise. You need to know something about the thing you're teaching. Mm-hmm. You need to not lie about how much you know about it. You need to be very, very clear about who it's for. So if you are teaching social media to 70-year-old plus, what an expert is going to be very different than if you're teaching social media to me and Hillary, right? So we need to consider your audience. We need to consider the discipline. Hillary and I talked about this in the Imposter Syndrome episode, where it's like, if you are claiming to be an expert in law and you don't have a law degree, you are not an expert. You've never taken the bar and you're teaching about bar classes, right? So there's some pretty obvious things here that don't really need us to point a finger on it. But on the flip side, if we're talking about creativity, we're talking about business, we're talking about results or growth or meal planning or style or design, like a lot of that actually has to do with the results you've gotten for people and the specific ways in which you've gotten those results and how you can help them reach their goals. That is fair game. Yeah. That is fair game. And I think that is where it's a matter of your own integrity and what your people are looking for. This is where I'm going to use the phrase, I'm going to do it. You can serve them.
From the mouths of hams, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. I think that I agree with you on all points. Before we discourage a bunch of, potential genius course creators from doing anything ever, and we're triggering imposter syndrome here, I want to say that There's a lot of conversations. I think we're in the middle of one of those big how to build a course affiliate launches right now, because I'm starting to see it pop up everywhere, this conversation and this question of, we're talking about what qualifies someone to have a course. Having a small audience does not disqualify you. And I want to emphasize that. Yeah, not having any audience at all technically does also not disqualify you, but it's going to make it more difficult. Yeah. And I think that if you want to pursue this, if you are at that stage, and if you are at a course where you're not really sure people are asking for it yet, but you don't really have much of an audience, but you think it's something you should do, it's something you want to try, see it as not a fix or a solution necessarily, because chances are there's going to be a long road that solves any problems. But look at it as the experience, as a growth experience, as something you want to try and experiment with.
I think the thing I would caution people against is the idea of a quick win. And
a quick solution.
Right. It's not a quick solution. I think these are all longer term business building avenues.
Yeah.
If it works for you.
Yep. And I think that this, by the way, segues beautifully into the second thing we wanted to yell at, which is the other panacea solution after courses is what? Hire a subcontractor, build a team. Yes. And I was probably 5 or 6 years into my business. That was always the end of the road. And then I was like, oh no, I'm fucking terrible at managing people. What now? It was my mentor, Sarah Ashman, who was like, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. And I was like, what? Like, everybody's telling me I should. And that's, again, a whole other skill set, the managerial piece. But what frustrates me in the space is I'll be, in one of our mutual Facebook groups, and I'll see someone be like, hey, I have too much work, or this project's really stressing me out. Like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? Yeah. And it's rare that I see the suggestion, like, you're a human being, push out the deadlines as far as they can go. What is a solution people suggest? Just bring on a subcontractor. Just go find one from subcontractor Walmart and just pick one off the shelf at a discount so you don't lose too much money. There are great ones on the sale rack. And then you're going to put that whole ass person into the middle of this project that's already stressing you the fuck out. What could go wrong? Truly. Sorry, I clearly have a lot of feelings about this because I've tried this, guys, when I was young and innocent and pure of heart. I was like, perfect, subcontractor. And I've worked with some great subcontractors in my day. But the time to hire a subcontractor is at the beginning of the fucking project or long before. So they anticipate not throwing someone in the middle of something.
And honestly, this is why I don't go on Facebook anymore. And people say that they get ragey about political stuff. And I'm like, no, I get angry about bad advice. Like, it's lazy. Yeah. If someone is asking a question about their business, the appropriate response is to ask them more fucking questions about their business. What can they handle? Why did they take it on? What is the nature of the dilemma? What's the real problem? Because it's probably not the one they presented. If you're struggling with too much work, you were probably not charging enough. You were probably dealing with difficult clients. You probably haven't set up a scope of work that's appropriate. There's so many other things where you're not managing demands and timelines. Like, there are other things and other ways that we could solve it that aren't just like outsourcing the amount of work in the middle of the project.
Yeah, it's perceived solutions that miss a lot of steps. I think these are both, those are like courses and, subcontractors in the agency model. Because I think, honestly, the agency model is great, but if you want to be the COO of an organization like that, you have to realize that so much of your time is going to be spent in team management and politics and, managing people's feelings and managing the projects and managing the clients. And that's not necessarily what you want to be doing. There are people who love that, but there are people who don't. Me. Because I'm very bad at it and I want to be everybody's friend. So then when it comes time to be the authority, I'm like, it just, that's how I feel inside. And I have a great team, but I have my team because they are very self-sufficient. I'm not somebody who could have a team that was sprawling and gigantic, full of people at all ranges of expert levels. I pay for experts who can handle it themselves because I know that's a weak point of mine.
You hire entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
You have the same issue I do where I prefer to be managed.
Yeah.
I want my contractors to manage me.
I am baby. I want to be baby all the time. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Tell me what you need me to do.
Anything. Yeah.
What do you need me to do?
Just manage me. Just manage me. Okay. Shout out to Haley, my amazing assistant.
She's amazing.
She's the best. And I am baby. So, and also Hunter, my CMO. I've been through a bunch of hires in the past as well who've also been great, but were not what I needed because, again, they did not know how to anticipate needs. They didn't speak the language of the industry. There was a lot of training and management required that I was not prepared to do. And subcontractors, it's the same story. I've worked with some great subcontractors who've needed some training and very little training, and they're awesome. But at the end of the day, it was not a model that worked for me, and I had to let that go. And I think there are always other options, I think, and we have to give ourselves the freedom to, if we try something, to let it not work and move on.
Yes. And shout out Company of One by Paul Jarvis, friend of the show. If you've not read his stuff, he has some great stuff on how to run a company of one that is as big or small as you would like.
He's okay. I think there's also a lot of pressure. Like, you don't have a real business if you've got a course. You don't have a real business if you don't.
Oh, I feel that. Your business isn't real if you don't have employees.
A team or employees. Yeah. And I think that's difficult. And that's also not necessarily true. Like, I think there's being an entrepreneur and being a freelancer, both are forms of, businesses. Yeah. So we don't want to shame anybody. We don't want to send anyone running for the hills, but if
you're making money, you have a business.
Exactly. Congratulations.
If you're making and losing money, you have a business too, but it's the exchange of cash.
Yeah, exactly.
Differentiating you.
These are just the ins and outs of this advice, guys, that we want you to consider before you take a step one way or another, or before you accidentally overload your plate and realize you need to throw another body at it halfway through the project. Don't do that.
Yes. All right, well, wrapping this up here, I think there's so much advice out there that is overly simplistic, that is lazy and not thorough. So if you are sitting online, reading through, sifting through, trying to figure out what you should do, just remember, dig deeper. Think about what your needs are and the realities. Like, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. There is probably more to the story. And one of the hacks we like, talk to people who are more successful than you. Not that you perceive, but know what are their finances.
You've seen the receipts.
Yeah. We're going to have another episode on optics here, but there's a lot of posturing out there. So you want to make sure the advice that you are taking is from people who have built these businesses or who understand them at a level that they are giving advice that's helpful, that isn't so overly simplistic that it's dismissive. Yep. I think that's what really gets me, is that it's offensive to the market and to those of us working so hard, and those of you working so hard, trying to make ends meet, trying to make your products and services really, really high quality and get them out to the people who need them, that you know that you can help. This does a disservice to you, because we're in this for the long haul. We are marathon people who run sprints in between, and we want you to keep going. So we're not saying don't build digital projects. We're just saying go in eyes open. If you want to hire a contractor, if you want to hire subcontractors, do it early. Start vetting. Talk to people about how to hire. Do everything as if this is the long game, like you have a year to do it. Right? Yep. Start thinking about courses. Is it something you want to do? Understand that the first one you're going to build, you're probably going to hate. And
that's okay, as it should
totally
be.
Fine.
Your first of anything is always going to suck a little bit.
Exactly.
And you can also be the exception and not the rule. So, Godspeed.
Be the exception. There's that too. All right, you guys, we want to hear from you. What have you built or done, or where you took some crazy bad advice or felt susceptible to it? Tell us about it in the comments below. I'm Margot Aaron.
And I'm Hillary Wise.
If you liked this episode, please like it below and subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends. We will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, y'all.
Bye for now.